Welcome back, friends. I am joined today by Oiness and Colin Tipp with Gild Mortgage, and we are here to talk about first-time homebuyer programs or down payment assistance programs. Which brings us to the very first question: what is a first-time buyer program, and down payment assistance programs, are they really just for first-time buyers?
Yeah, so down payment assistance programs and first-time homebuyer programs are designed for first-time homebuyers, but the first-time homebuyer terminology doesn't necessarily mean that it should only be for your very, very, very first home. You just can't have technically owned a home over the last 3 years approximately. So if you owned a home 3 years ago, you sold it, and now you're coming back into the market and buying a home again, you could now qualify for some of those first-time homebuyer programs.
It's really awesome. I think a lot of people don't realize that, and they see first-time buyer and they just think that, well, I've owned a home, 10 years ago, so I can't qualify. And what are some of those programs in Washington that people take advantage of, or that you guys work with? Not necessarily Washington State programs, but what are just some of the best programs you guys work with?
Quite a few programs. I mean, I think the biggest one is probably the Washington State Down Payment Assistance Program.
There's I would say probably four of the most common that first-time homebuyers use, whether or not they're required to be a first-time homebuyer. I would say the Down Payment Assistance Home Advantage Program is definitely a big one because not all first-time homebuyers have ample savings, but they have good income, right? So it maxes out at $180,000 per year. And so that's a rather high income level to be able to get a down payment covered. So that's a very used program. We do that one a lot, as well as, the Home Possible, Home Ready programs through Fannie and Freddie. Those are great for first-time home buyers because the interest rate is a little lower on those programs. The mortgage insurance is actually cheaper for the client, so it's not as high per month. So basically what we'll do is we'll get your scenario and find all the best programs that fit you for your scenario. And then we look at all the details on those options. So
Plug in the buyer profile.
FHA is another big one that a lot of first-time homebuyers will use because of debt to income ratio threshold, the ability to have 3.5% down. We do have conventional programs at 3% down. So there's a lot of programs geared towards first-time homebuyers, but I feel like it's not just first-time homebuyers that are going to be benefiting from a lot of these programs. There's a lot of great programs for a lot of people in any circumstance. So,
yeah. And when it makes sense, they should take advantage of it. It's there for them. And if it helps them get what they want, I think something that tends to happen is people think, well, I shouldn't use it unless I absolutely need it. But sometimes you might not need it necessarily in your down payment or your monthly payment kind of situation, but other things like being competitive. Like I've had clients who have some cash, but they need to put that cash towards a limited appraisal waiver, but that means they can't put it towards a down payment. So we get them in a down payment program, and then they can reserve some of their cash so we can use it to be competitive just to even get a home. I like using them for a wider range than just people who desperately need it to get their first home, I guess.
And a lot of these down payment assistance programs, depending on when you're shopping for a home, like through this winter, I've had numerous people use the program and then they don't even have enough for closing costs. So I give them the amount that they need and they request it in the offer. They, again, zero cost loan until their first monthly payment. These people get their earnest money refunded back to them when they close the home. And so it's, those ones are pretty rewarding to close. I like those.
Yes. Those are when you get really good reviews. What are the eligibility requirements, specifically income limits, credit score minimums? Especially in Washington State, we have higher prices, depending on where you're at. And the typical, obviously, wall to wall, those prices are going to be different than Seattle. So, what are income requirements and credit score requirements, or income limits, I should say?
Most qualifications are going to be surrounding income limits. So, like, if you make over a certain threshold, like Colin talked about on the Washington State program, it's up to $180,000 of gross household income. If you're over that, then you wouldn't qualify for that zero down program, right? So whether it's the Fannie Mae Home Ready or the Freddie Mac Home Possible program, they're going to have different income limits as well. and it's not just a state income limit. It's not even a county income limit. Sometimes it's in these little pockets. They call it the area median income. And so depending on what that area median income is in that little zone, and if you're over that threshold, like let's say it's 125% of that area median income, you may not qualify for that first-time homebuyer program. So we have to get very address specific when we're looking at some of these properties to see if they're going to qualify or not.
It's actually a really good point that I guess I want to ask. With that is based on the property address, not where the person currently lives or works. It's on the property they're buying.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean it just, so one, it could be if they're looking at multiple properties in different areas, it could change by property.
Yeah.
So that's important to keep in mind.
So when somebody's on that threshold and they're really, really close to maybe that zoning, it can be challenging. Like, hey, if you buy this house, you get this first-time homebuyer program. If you buy this house that's 3 blocks away, you don't qualify for a first-time homebuyer program, right? So, and then there's even some in those zones, and they're meant to be like zones that the state is wanting to have people move into. They might remove the area median income.
Interesting.
And so there is no area median income, which means that somebody who makes $500,000 will qualify for some of these, get the benefits of some of those first-time homebuyer programs if they are first, or within that 3-year tenure that we talked about.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
There's a lot of it's dependent on also like the area median income per the area. Like if you're out in the country, like in a very rural area versus like downtown Seattle, they're going to have a different level because living downtown Seattle is rather expensive. Everything costs a lot more. And so their median income level's higher than way out there.
Yeah.
So
what's the best way for somebody to know what area those are, whether the property is in it or not? Do you tell them to go look on a website, or do you guys do that research for them?
We'll do that research for them. So that'll be part of our like consultation meeting, gathering all the documents like Colin talked about, going through the pre-approval. We always try to like, hey, here's 3-4 different scenarios. Here's the pros and cons of this down payment assistance program. Here's the pros and cons of the Home Ready, Home Possible program, the benefits of Gild's 1% down first-time homebuyer programs. Trying to figure out what their needs are, and then how do we make this a good short-term solution, a long-term solution as well. But we'll definitely work with them on that, and we might give them the link to the map so they can say, oh, if I look over here, I'm outside my first-time income limit zone.
I'm guessing when somebody's looking at those, probably before you make an offer, it's still good to tell you what home we're looking at, let you look it up to verify, so we don't put them in a position where we're offering on something with one expectation and can't meet it.
We always want to know, like right before an offer goes in, like, hey, reach out to us. Let's look at the address. Let's put together an updated scenario based off of current market rates, those exact property taxes. Make sure that they feel comfortable with what the payment's going to look like, but before they put the offer in.
That is solid advice. And then another question that does come up quite often is attending a homebuyer education seminar mandatory to participate in these programs?
Yes. So a lot of the first-time homebuyer programs or specialized programs like this that give you a benefit, they just want you to take a class like online. It takes usually 30 minutes to an hour or so. And you just learn about what it is to be a first-time homebuyer and the benefits and things that you're offered and qualified to have. Yeah, that's typically the one thing that we get done before locking the loan, especially on like Home Advantage program. You actually have to have the certification number to actually reserve the bond block. Through the state of Washington, you just take that 30-minute or 1 hour, however long it takes you to do, get the certification number, then we can lock the loan.
In those classes, those courses are per program. You can't just go out and sign up on some random realtor's Facebook page for a home buying program. You actually have to take the state specific or
yeah, we have links that we send. There's a few different sites that you can do, like through Fannie and or Freddie Mac, and then there is a Washington State Housing Finance Commission through their website. You can just go to. That's typically the one I send out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Send you on in-person classes as well, but the online is shorter and more convenient.
Yes. And then how do first-time buyers or buyers using first-time programs, how do they find lenders who can help them? And also, I guess the other question is real estate agents, which I'll answer that really quickly. Any real estate agent can help you. We don't have any specific requirements on who can do it. And I'll even answer the other one really quickly. You should use Gild Mortgage because they're more experienced in these programs than anybody else. That's why they're always every year at the top of the list in the state. But just really briefly, what should somebody look out for if they're thinking about using these?
They should just call us.
I agree. And I'll actually, I kind of want to, I guess I'll couch that a little bit with one thing to keep in mind for buyers out there is that if a lender can't do those programs, they're not going to tell you I can't, you should go to so-and-so. And so what they will often, and I've seen this happen where they'll try to put them into a different program or tell them, oh, well, you can't do that program. And buyers will think it's because of the buyer profile, not because the lender can't do it. And so I think, obviously I agree, go with Gild. But I do think from a buyer standpoint, it's important to just, if you're thinking you might be eligible or want to use that, you should ask that your lender that right up front and be specific. Because if they can't do it, like I said, they're probably not going to say, oh, I can't do that. Go somewhere else.
Yeah. And maybe I can add some color to why not all lenders offer this state bond program. They aren't like massively profitable loans for lenders to do actually, because the rates are set by the state. So technically lender to lender, the rate will be the same. And it's not like if you go to XYZ lender versus Gild lender, the rates are posted by the state and they're offered there. But we do have to process the loan, and there is a lot of work that goes into it. And so the during the COVID days, a lot of lenders just didn't do these loans. So we actually got quite a number of referrals from other lenders who said, hey, I have a client, they don't qualify for, they don't have the down payment. They really need that down payment assistance program by Washington State. And they would refer them over to us and we would help them out. So it's an amazing program to help first-time home buyers. I mean, we've helped hundreds of first-time home buyers that they get into a house with like nothing out of their pocket. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity. So it's pretty incredible to be able to like have that crazy of a return on, zero or a few $100 or maybe a couple $1,000s out of their pockets.
Yeah. One important thing about it too is the money that you're getting for your down payment. They do not charge you interest or any kind of fees or cost on that. And so they truly are letting you use that down payment at zero cost.
Basically borrowing free money.
Yeah.
There are some programs that actually, that down payment is like, a grant, right? So like the Gild program,
right?
Our 1% down program it's a first-time homebuyer program. It's a 3% down conventional program, 1% from the borrower, 2% as a grant that is forgivable. So it's not like they have to pay it back down the road. So it's really, free 2% money that goes towards their down payment, which is crazy.
No kidding. As far as qualifications, I guess, kind of going back to that a little bit, because there's only, 20 lenders. Mortgage company has to be, with the state program, it has to be certified. And I understand the loan officer does too.
Yeah. We have to go through certain training to be able to do that. It's a longer clock hour class to be able to offer that program.
Yeah. What I found anyways is that it seems like most like the bigger lenders, the online lenders, they're not state specific. So they just don't even get into it. That's why good local people are the ones that tend to be the better ones to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're paired with, FHA or conventional, these down payment assistance programs. The minimum credit score requirement would be 600 for FHA and then 620 for conventional using that program. And so there are some differences on which one to use for each client's circumstance.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then we have another video on VA loans and veterans. Is there any incentive or any reason a veteran would use one of these programs in conjunction with their VA loan, or
maybe if their eligibility was not available to do the VA loan, but if they have VA eligibility to do a VA loan, they should do a VA loan because it's a much better rate, no more insurance, some of the benefits we talked about in that other video.
That makes sense. And then as a buyer, what is, I guess we kind of talked about this already, but what is the first step? Like what's their next step that they should do? Should they go take their class? Should they talk to you first, figure out what program they're going to use so they know which class to take, or what's the best first step for them?
Get pre-approved first. Definitely just get your pre-approval done. So we have all the cards on the table. So there's no missing pieces. And then we fit the best options for them.
One thing I've noticed with so much information out there in today's day and age, and people have all the information at their fingertips. And sometimes that's amazing and it's great. And this video is a piece of that.
Yeah.
But sometimes clients can go down the path like, oh, well, I should go get my certificate. I should go do this, this, and this. And really that can end up wasting time, or they could be pursuing a path that they shouldn't be pursuing.
Right.
Because maybe their income's too high, or there's just a better program out there. So starting with the pre-approval, like Colin mentioned, let's get all your stuff. Let's uncover everything. Let's figure out what's the best course of action. Your lender, or we would provide you, a few different paths to take, pros and cons, and then take the action to go down that path.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, like you said, a lot of people, especially now today, want to do their own research. Unfortunately, that's become quite a buzzword, doing my own research. And yeah, I mean, that's what you guys are here for, is to figure out what works best for them.
Right.
I mean, that's the value you provide, is getting to know their situation, figuring out what works best for them.
We've helped thousands and thousands of clients. So like,
It's crazy.
We've seen all the pitfalls that people, or I've even experienced personally doing loans, for myself. But I mean, like back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's like, we want to help clients navigate that so that that doesn't happen to them.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's something Casey's actually really good at, is getting creative in like a scenario where, you need to find a better solution for something, and we'll just, brainstorm on something. We'll come up with a great plan.
Nice. Well, that's all I've got for today for this session. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll be back with some more later.
Cool.